In this video we're removing all the exterior pieces and getting it one step closer to paint. So starting off at the front, I begin with taking the headlights off. This one's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit rusted on there and doesn't come off that easy. But using a screwdriver, kind of prying around it a little bit, being gentle not to break anything, and trying to slide the cover off, I eventually get it. This side was a little bit easier to get off. It didn't have the amount of rust around the bucket as the other side did, so it popped off nice and easy. Moving around to the side, I begin to take the reflector off and the side marker light. These side marker lights are actually waterproof. They have two little seals on them. The first seal being that crusty looking tan gasket around there. It used to be black, but I'm probably going to replace that. I'll probably get a little piece of rubber material and cut a new one out, because it did look like a little bit of water came in, as you can see from the bottom right screw. It was a little bit rusty and corroded, so it looks like a little bit of water has been sitting in there. Just disconnecting the light from the waterproof electrical connector, and it should pop right out. The actual housing was a little bit stuck, so a couple hits from the back end of a screwdriver and some gentle prying with a flathead, it popped right off. Moving on to the side marker reflector. This one's a little bit worn down. Some of the other ones are actually a little bit rusty too, so I'm planning on replacing these. I know Napa Auto Parts has very similar reflectors with a metal housing like that, so I'm going to test them out and see how they look on this. Now, when removing these turn signal flasher housings, there's actually two bolts holding them in from the back. You have to access them through a little panel behind the hood. But once you remove those two bolts, it should come right out. Then disconnect the three connectors, and there you go. It's pretty cool. All the actual electrical connectors on the Humvee are waterproof, and every single connector also has a little metal tab on it with a number. So each number corresponds to the number on the other side of the connector, so everything is easy to put right back.
Hang on. Ow! What's your squash?
Removing this grill is a little bit hard, mainly because the bolts on the inside of the hood were rusty and stripped. When I take the grill off, I'm probably going to paint it black. I think that'll look good. It'll give it a nice contrast between the camouflage pattern. After taking the bolts out, the grill should pop right out. And now I'll move on to the lower portion. Kind of the same situation with this lower portion. The bolts were a little bit rusty, and some of them even broke. So definitely replacing most of the bolts on everything I take off of here, just because of how rusty they are. And when I replace them, I want to use nice new, maybe zinc coated bolts so it doesn't get rusty again. So glad I bought a set of these gear wrenches. They come in handy all the time, especially for little areas like this where I can't get my impact in, and I don't really feel like using a ratchet. Same deal with this side. I'm just taking the side marker off and the reflector. Now we're removing the blackout light. This is just next to the turn signal light on the driver's side of the hood. So the side mirrors are actually held on using bolts going into riv nuts. Riv nuts are basically rivets that have a threaded portion on the inside, so you could screw in a bolt. I'm going to have to redo these ones just because they're kind of loose in there, and when you try to tighten them down, they kind of spin. So definitely going to be redoing those ones. Moving on to the back, these are similar to the front turn signal lights where they just have two bolts holding them in through the back, and then about 3 wires going into the back then that you need to disconnect. But once you disconnect them, you could pull out the rear tail lights, the brake lights, and it should come right out. Next episode, we'll be working on the hood, fixing the fiberglass, and then we'll start sanding it down and getting it ready for paint. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all are enjoying this build. It's very fun and interesting, learning a lot of new things while doing this. Anyways, stay tuned for the next episode, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Over and out.